Hi everybody, this is part 2 of this Les Paul custom video, and as you can see, we've got a few Les Paul customs. I just got done telling you the story of the Jimmy Page guitar, which looked exactly like this, and with the yellowed binding and the Bigsby, and we had it amongst our mitts. Bleem was out playing it in Minneapolis Clubland for 20 years. The world's most valuable guitar, Jimmy Page's precious guitar. But now is the story of your most precious guitar. And for those of you that have been playing for a while, the Les Paul Custom. This black beauty with gold hardware is the pinnacle. It is, and was, in the 50s, the most expensive solid body guitar. You can have your Strats and your Tellys, you can have your Juniors and your Specials. Even the Les Paul Standard wasn't as much as the Les Paul Custom. So I have this. This is a Gibson custom shop, and it's a reissue of a 2-pickup Les Paul Custom. Okay, this is a traditionally, the Les Paul Customs were called the Fretless Wonders, and from the 50s all the way through 1974, they had fretless frets, really flat, low-slung frets. It's really hard. People don't really like that. There are people that will play a flat wound string and use these kind of like the jazz guitar that they were meant to be. They were marketed as jazz guitars for the professional, because if you were a professional, you were probably playing jazz. And here we are with this. I am going through a Magnatone Super 15, which is the most Marshall amp we have. So, I love used guitars. I especially love when we can find a Les Paul Custom. This one is about $37.50, and it is a custom shop. You can see from the prices of new custom shops what they are. Now, here is a white Les Paul Custom. For those of you that know what the white Les Paul Custom symbolizes, I won't go into this too deep, but this is a 2006 custom shop again. It's got the custom shop logo on the back, and this is a custom shop Les Paul Custom. Leave a comment, will you, of all the guys that played Les Paul Customs over the years. This white Les Paul Custom, they tend to have, by nature, Gibson still doesn't put on the big jumbo frets. They put on more of like a Martin size fret, which is fairly tall, fairly small. The difference tone-wise for the Customs compared to the Standards is the ebony board. The ebony board gives a certain glassiness, a brightness to the sound that is helpful for... Sometimes Les Pauls can get a little muddy. If you're used to a Gibson, they sound a little fat and full with all the bass, the shorter scale length compared to Fenders. But this white custom is a really cool thing because, again, it's a custom shop, and finding used custom shop stuff is kind of a magical thing. I also have this 3-pickup Les Paul Custom, and if you watch the first video that we just put out the other day, you'll see the Jimmy Page guitar. Now these have the bridge pickup, and then in the middle position you have these 2 pickups. Their relation together will phase cancel. So if you've always fancied a Jimmy Page type guitar, this is it. Jimmy Page used his Les Paul Custom, his 3-pickup Les Paul Custom, on their first mega hit, Whole Lotta Love. That was what launched Led Zeppelin is that song in particular. And then the last one I've got to show you in our Les Paul Custom Roundup, and actually I have a couple more besides just this. We get stuff in groups. And when they come in groups, it's so weird because we won't have a Les Paul Custom for, you know, a couple of months, and then all of a sudden in a couple of days we get a bunch of them. This is the prize. I've told you guys for years that buy 70s Gibsons, especially pre-75 Gibsons. In 1975, Gibson moved to Memphis or Nashville. Down in Nashville, they had more automated machinery. This was a big event for them. Back in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the old factory, they were still using gear from the 50s, so they really wanted to modernize the construction and speed up the construction. So these pre-75 solid bodies are in high demand. If you can't afford the $150,000 for a 50s Les Paul Custom, you might consider an early 70s Les Paul Custom. They're still old guitars. This one has been refretted with a taller fret. When we got it, it was a fretless wonder that was worn down wonderfully and was all beat up. This has original patent sticker pickups in it. So right after the patent applied for, there's patent stickers. What you get out of patent sticker pickups is typically a brighter upper mid-range and more definition. A little less output. These later guitars tend to have a little more output. I've not touched the amp, but it doesn't break up quite as much. 1971, here, I'll hold up a sign. See? 1971 Gibson Les Paul Custom. This just came in. We refretted it. It's got a fresh set of frets. It's got these old waffle back tuners. This is a great guitar, an investment grade guitar. Any of these early 70s Fenders and Gibsons are worth getting now. Mark my words, as they will rise in value. It's something you'd be proud to own. You can see this yellowed binding against the gold hardware. That's something that just makes these Les Paul Customs just pop. This is a fabulous guitar. It's not too heavy. I'm going to guess this is probably 8.5 pounds. We'll happily weigh these. We can play these for you, but this, my friends, is my Les Paul Custom story. And every time I see a 3-pickup Les Paul Custom, I think of the Jimmy Page guitar that landed here in the Twin Cities for some 20 years and now is safely back with Jimmy Page. So there you go. That's my 2 stories in 2 parts on Les Paul Customs. Y'all come back now here.